Hey, welcome to Divine Honey Podcast. I'm your host, your friend Tamika Johnson. And if this is your first time, welcome. This show is about human experiences. This includes thought provoking conversations and, most importantly, our Divine Honey guest sharing stories about love, life, purpose, and journey. If you're watching live or on the replay and you feel inspired, please leave a comment. Engagement is welcomed. And today, I want to welcome our guest, Bridget Giles. She's a child of God, mom to many, a wife to one, and she will be sharing her health journey with us. Hey,
Hey,
girl,
hey,
how are you?
I am wonderful. How are you?
I'm doing really good. Well, some of you guys might not know, or you do know, like this is like my sister friend, my sister, my childhood. We've known each other since what I was 13, or I think I was 13, you were 12, or maybe,
No, it was for that. Before that, I was like 10, and I
yeah.
think you were 11. It's been a
Okay, yeah.
long time.
So it's been a very, very long time. So we have gone through a lot together. We've seen every phase of our lives together.
It's been a lot. Like plate glass windows, shelters, like you name
Shelter.
it, we've been through it.
We've done it. We have fist fights.
Fist fights, getting expelled.
You name it, it's happened, and just seeing each other through like just every phase. That's pretty amazing. We're both in the 40 club now.
Shh, don't be telling them that. They think we're in our 20s. Let them think that. Let them think that we're still in our 20s.
20s was a long time ago. We both like grown a lot since then and just
Healed.
healed. Actually, Bridget, I think I did talk about her in one of the podcasts. She's the friend that moved here first, but you were here I feel like you were here a long time prior to me coming.
We got here in 2009.
Okay, and I came in 2015. So you had like lived here a long time by then.
Yeah.
And so I stayed with her and her family for like a year and a half. And I'm glad you guys, let me have my time to do that.
We always decided, like every house that we've gotten, we've decided that it was God's house. And whoever He wanted to be in that house to receive healing or whatever it was that they needed, that was who He would bring to our home. And it was just fitting that you were one of those people.
Yes, yes. I do remember you were always telling me you should move there. I was like, I'm not moving to Arizona. You guys, I wanted to move to Chicago for some reason. I don't know why. Proves me. I really did. But I was like, yeah, I'm not moving here. I'm not moving here. And then one night, you guys had a fire.
Yes.
Yes, you had a fire. And you're with your personality, you get things together. She's the organizer. This girl's the fixer. She she takes care of business, and that's just what it is. My brother say about you? My brother said, "Oh, Bridget runs her house." I mean, you're the mama. You're the mama bear. And you're even like that with your friends, that you feel that, right? So you're up there just thinking about how you guys are going to get stuff together, and we're talking, and I'm just talking, being there for you, and you just say, bitch, you're still moving here. I'm still going to have a room for you. I was like, I'm not moving there. I'm not moving there. This is December.
December.
January, I call you up. I said, bitch, I'm coming.
Yes, you did. I was like, yep, come on. Come on.
And I
We
just
got a room
stayed.
for you.
Yeah, and I just stayed. I just was in a bad place when I came, and just I needed to be around a family. I could have moved and got my own place and at a certain point, but it just wasn't time. And then it probably still wasn't time for me to be alone, because in comes Laura. So God works. He knows what you need.
He does. He does. Even when you don't know, He knows.
Yes. So you have many, like I said, you need to write a book or do something. You have to do something about your life, because it's wild. I'm just a bystander, but some of your shit is just wild. And I think when the time comes and God tells you it's time, you'll do that. But I really think you have like there's seriousness, there's some laughter because you're crazy. You are wild.
I mean, yeah, I'm not your average person. I'll say that. I'll
What did
say
you
that.
say? Either you like me or you love me or you hate me. There's nothing in
There is no
between.
in between. There is no in between. Either you love me or you hate me. That's just who I am. And I know a lot of people that hate me. Thankfully, you're one of the ones that love me. But yes, my
Yes.
life has been a journey. Like, I mean, girl, you and I, we met living in a shelter because our parents are addicts.
Yes.
And I mean, I look at us now and look at us from back then. We shouldn't have made it. We
Oh,
should not have
absolutely
made it.
not. Absolutely not.
And the odds were against us, but we did. For the grace of God, we did. And that in between has been quite the journey, quite the journey. Some ups, some downs. Whew, some downs. The thing, yeah, that book will be wild. That book will be wild, and people are going to be like, "There's no way that happened."
I'm like,
Oh,
it did.
it
I'm like,
did.
I did. We've had
It
some stuff
did.
like, uh-huh.
And I wish I knew now what I didn't know then,
That
because
goes
I
to know
think
better, do better. We didn't
know better, do
know.
better. Um, I mean, girl, I lived in a house with I was a head madam in a house.
That's
Girl,
wild.
how did I get there? How did I
And
get there?
you know what always blew me about that? It was like some of the stuff you told me, I'm not gonna say it, but like I knew like it would be wild that you knew people because now we're adults at this point.
Right.
And then you're like, oh God, they're her? She's
Right. Right.
yeah. Wild.
Nuts. Just nuts. Like, and looking back, I've seen my journey. Like, if it wasn't for God, I wouldn't have made it out of those things. Like the head
Mhm.
madam thing. Like that man wanted to kill me. And God kept me even during that time. My divorce, my marriage. Girl, I was a baby getting married. I had two
A
kids
baby.
before shoot, I was 16, you
Yeah.
know? It's been a journey. And then to get to my 40s and to have gotten as sick as I got, I had no idea what menopause looked like. I had no idea that my decision to get a hysterectomy or to get the PCO, I have PCOS, and we look to Western medicine, but that's not always the answer.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I'm at now is dealing with the decisions I made back then and trying to get healthy after you're sick is really hard when now I know I didn't have to get as sick as I got before
Mm-hmm.
I got better.
Do you think you could have not had the hysterectomy? Like if there was another way, like now that you're going through your journey, would there been another option, do you think?
Yes, because everything that I have learned up until this point goes back to the fact that we as Americans, we don't detox. Every other
Mhm.
country, detoxing is a thing. They talk about parasites. Parasites is like a bad taste in people's mouth here. They don't want to talk about that things because that's disgusting. But guess what? Just because the water in our, when we turn on the faucet is clear, that doesn't mean it's clean.
Right.
There's a lot of things in there like, we should have distillers in our house. We should have filters in our house. And people don't know that because we think, oh, I pay the water bill, then it's got to be healthy. It's got to be safe. It's not, it doesn't mean that. We buy a lot of things at the grocery store. I was of mind that if I can buy it at a store, it must be safe. And being
Mhm.
on this holistic and seeing a naturopathic doctor has opened my eyes that just because I detox the inside does not mean that it's detoxing the outside. So I had to change everything from laundry detergent, body wash, dish soap. I mean, even New York recently banned laundry soaps because it's so bad for the environment. It gets in our water system and the
Yeah,
toxins
I
don't come
changed
out.
mine.
Yeah. And most of the things that we can buy that are good for us, you can't even find at the regular grocery store. And this is a thing, like, if I would have started 10, 20 years ago and treated, the symptoms that I was having, and you hear people talk about leaky gut and you're like, oh, they're crazy. What is that? You know what I mean? It's a real thing.
Hmm.
It's a real thing. And it's making a lot of us sick.
What is
Um,
leaky? I actually don't know what leaky gut is.
so leaky gut is basically there are foods and things that we are eating and like the parasites that get into our body, and they they get into our gut and they eat the lining of our gut. There's also foods that do it, like lectins. Tomatoes have lectins in them, and they eat through the lining of your stomach. Well, when that happens, the things that are not supposed to get in your bloodstream do. So, like poop per se, that actually goes through your gut, and now it's in your bloodstream. And now you're getting sick because your immune system is trying to fight these things, but you don't realize the things you're putting in your mouth is actually making it worse. So leaky gut is fixing that lining, getting rid of the foods that are hurting your stomach, treating the parasites, um, distilling your water, and not having things that they dictate are good. They say, oh, they added
Mhm.
fluoride to our water to make, help our kids' teeth. Well, studies are showing that that's not true. It actually makes us sick. Um,
Mm.
there's so much, like, it like once you start opening your eyes to some of these things, it keeps going. You just go down this rabbit hole of everything that is, um, I feel like a lot of us do what our parents did. And
Mhm.
our parents based it off of the knowledge that they had. Now that we are in this technological age, we're getting more information, we're sharing more information, we're able to see that other countries aren't doing the same things that we're doing. And so it's opening a lot of our eyes. A friend of mine, she had was diagnosed with MS. She's
Mm.
seen a naturopathic doctor. A naturopathic doctor said, no, you have parasites. She went through a cleanse. She went back to her Western medicine doctor, got the scans again. Oh, you don't have MS. It's a miracle. Was it a miracle, or was it, oh, we're treating the things that we should have been treating all along? A lot of countries, like I said, they go through parasite cleanses 2 times a year. I don't know about you, up until this year, I'd never been on one.
Like, what is it? Like, what does that entail when you do the parasite
It
cleanse?
really depends on the person. For me, I went the herbal route,
Okay.
and I'm on a 6 months detox. I got rid of all the lectins and stuff. So basically, an AIP diet, which is an autoimmune diet. You cut out the gluten. You cut out
Mhm.
all of the nightshades. A lot of different foods to make sure that your body isn't sensitive to them, but it also keeps you from harming yourself during this process.
It's
You
called, what
drink
kind of diet is it called, Bridget?
an AIP. A is in apple, I is in igloo, P is in papa,
Diet.
and it's called an autoimmune
Okay. I'm gonna
diet.
put that in the, so people can, Google that.
I highly encourage, especially women in their 30s and 40s, to start a relationship with a naturopathic doctor, especially one that emphasizes in women's health, because that's the age
Mhm.
where our hormones are changing. Um, I went through the perimenopause. I'm going through menopause. I'm on
Okay.
hormones now. Um, Nobody's talking about those things. Nobody talks about they talk about, oh, you're in a midlife crisis. No, it's where our bodies have changed to the point where we have no
Mhm.
idea what's going on. You think you're crazy. You're going through anxiety. You're dealing with all these things you've never
Mm.
dealt with. But because we as women, I want to say we're kind of catty. I don't know if it's in our DNA, but we've always been posed against each other where we're fighting each other. No, we
Mhm.
need to start putting on our crowns and fixing each other's crowns and talking about the hard things so that we can help each other and lift each other up. And thankfully, I'm in a church where we can do that. And I've
Mhm.
found my group of people, but not everybody has that. So people aren't
No.
talking about, it's not supposed to hurt when you have sex. They're not talking about
Right.
the anxiety. They're not talking about, I don't want to get out of bed because everything hurts. They're not talking about the depression. They're not talking about these things. And some of these things are about menopause. Some of these things are about parasites. Some of these things are just we're not eating the right diets. And it's time for us to do better. It's time for us to dig deep and figure out what's really going on.
I have heard of natural paths. Like my group, like since like starting to go to therapy and stuff, we do talk. People have health problems. That's one of the reasons that comes up. So people are starting to go to natural paths and kind of share that information. But if you're not, sometimes when you're not in an intentional kind of group or a session, because we're people like in your church, if you're going to church, if you're doing these group things, it's intentional to be maybe empowered or knowledge, so you might hear those things, but if you're not a part of sometimes those groups and not aware to educate yourself, because I can say there was a time period I wasn't aware. I didn't have awareness to know better, do better. They don't hear about, natural paths and talking about the foods that we're eating, that are killing us, and perimenopause, talking about, and women talking about sex. I think I talk about it more now, but in a different way. I'm supposed to get satisfaction out of it each time,
Each time.
each time. And it's okay for me to say, if you can't tell the person you're doing these acts with, this does not feel good or this is not comfortable, maybe you shouldn't be doing it with them.
And you and I, we started too early. Let's just be
Way too
real.
early.
We were too early, and those are conversations we didn't have. And I made a point to make sure that I talked to my daughter about the things that were uncomfortable. I
Hmm.
wanted her to know that, it's okay to um, properly groom. It's
Yeah.
not supposed to smell down there. I mean, there's a
No.
natural scent, but there's like things that are
And to
not supposed to
shave.
smell.
I had
Right,
to learn that like on the way. No one like told me that like as
right,
a 13-year-old. I like had to like
right,
kind of figure it out. Isn't
right.
that
And it shouldn't be that way. There should be, there's a scripture in the Bible that talks about the
oh, Bridget, I think we're freezing up. You guys give us a second. She is frozen. Give me 1 second. Let me know if you guys have any questions or comments. Give me 1 second. Because this is a really good topic. You're frozen. She's gonna get out and come back in. Mm-mm. You guys, leave a comment in the chat. Let me know you're here. One second. Well, we're gonna wait for her to come back in. Sorry about that, you guys. But yeah, it's me and her have like a very, very long history together and like just kind of trying to come up and like navigate. We didn't know a lot of things, and not to blame our parents. You don't know better, you can't do better, right? Let's give us 2 seconds. And so the things that we know, like of course she has children and she can, teach them and inform them. She's turning on her hotspot. All right, here we go.
You gotta love this Arizona heat. It's taking down our
I
internet.
knocked it out. Okay.
Girl,
We're back. Hey, I just roll with it. I was like, oh, and we was on a roll, a really good topic.
we were, girl.
So we
Okay.
were talking about what you taught your daughter.
Yes. Just, those things that, we know better, so now we need to do better with our children.
Hmm.
We need to be having those hard conversations and letting them know that, just because other people are saying they're having sex, that doesn't mean they are.
Yeah. What? Who does that remind you of?
I don't know. Who does that remind me of?
Remember, I told you I had sex. I had never had sex.
So then I had sex, and then I got pregnant. Woo! Of course.
Hey,
I blame you.
I ain't tell you to go do that. I didn't tell you to go with that man.
And those are the conversations, like, unfortunately, I had a parent that, oh, her biggest sex advice was don't put your eggs in one basket. Now, this is coming from a woman who was having sex with all these men, taking money for sex and was an addict. Not somebody you should really be getting sex advice from.
Your mom was wild, but yeah, mine was just don't get pregnant.
And he didn't.
That was the
So,
advice. So,
and I wanted to have a different type of relationship with my child. I wanted her to, that it was okay to come to me and have those conversations. And,
mhm,
at that age, they're like, Mom, we're not talking about that. But you know what? We were having those conversations. Shave, make sure everything's clean,
mhm.
wash it, you know. Um, and we also had the fact that, I had two daughter, my daughter and my stepdaughter, and they started getting their periods early. And so we had to change their diet because of the hormones that were in the meats and stuff. When
Mhm.
I changed them from, regular food to organic food, their periods stopped for 2 years,
Oh wow. Okay.
Um, so our foods directly affect us even in that. So organic is better. Grass fed and finished is better because then they're not getting the grains and stuff that we're not supposed to be having.
Mhm.
Um, just having those conversations and teaching other people and being open minded. A lot of times when I was younger, I thought I knew everything. And I
Me
thought
too.
people that were, eating organic, oh, they're just wasting their time and their money, and now I'm like, man, had I listened, maybe I wouldn't have gotten as sick as I got.
I think about that too. Like, even like, okay, so if you go back to like our parents and grandparents, that's because it's just a different generation, money, poverty, all those things being low income. So, you ate, you grow up. I grew up like eating, I would say I ate good. Like, I ate like the stuff like greens, spaghetti, fried pork chop. We ate that on a regular. Now that's like a Thanksgiving thing or a one
Right.
off because we know because that's probably what kill everybody. Kill everybody. I actually did an ancestry. That's before I did the 23andMe. I found I had six. I think my grandma would have equaled six. So there were six sisters. I and I found the 1940 census of the mom house, and I found their death certificates of my grandmother and my aunt Teen and my aunt Mary's. I found three death certificates. Hypertension was on all of them.
You know, and a lot of that has to do with like, not knowing what to eat and
Mhm.
knowing what's good for you and what's bad for you. But a lot, you know, I don't want to blame it all on parasites, but a lot of it links back to that. Untreated parasites will give you hypertension. Untreated parasites will give you these diseases. I mean, you are literally hosting something in your body that's not supposed to be there. So your body attacks itself trying to get it out. But if you're not putting the right herbs in your body, if you're not putting the right things in your body to get rid of them, it just keeps feeding and gets more and bigger. And nobody wants to talk about it because, like, who wants to talk about worms? Let's really call it what it is.
Right.
But we treat our animals, we treat our livestock for all that. Why wouldn't we treat ourselves?
You would treat your dog if it had worms, but
Right.
y'all, everybody loves their dog. Again, you
Right.
guys, stop letting your dog lick you in the mouth.
That's nasty.
That sound like it. I digress. I don't like it. And don't let it really, have you thought of, no, don't let me not get on dogs. Just don't let them lick you in the mouth. They might give you a parasite.
Actually, that's where a lot of it comes from. If you look back at patients that have MS, a lot of it can be linked back to the fact that they all had lap dogs as children.
Oh, wow.
And think about kids were the ones that usually clean up after the dogs. Well, if dogs have worms, now you know what I mean? Well, that goes on untreated.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying that every case is that, so don't come for me in the comments, people. But I'm saying if you're at your wit's end and you can't figure it out, maybe you should try a different route because it's been
Mm-hmm.
said. I don't know. I'm not in the medical industry anymore. But a lot of doctors, even if they see that you have it, they're not allowed to tell you unless you ask. So even if they see that you do have parasites, they're not going to tell you. Think
Wait,
about it. They don't get
why?
paid for that. They don't get paid they get paid when you're sick. If they can put a band-aid on it and get you to pay for that every time you come back, they're going to keep you sick. I know that's sad and it goes against everything we believe in. But it's the truth. Everybody's like, "Oh, it's a conspiracy," but is it? How do they make their money?
No, well, true. And then, anyways, there's a distrust in Western medicine. Well, here, especially in the U.S., because they've done things. Sorry, guys, but I'll talk about Black folks real quick. We have a disparity in this country with health. There's, I don't believe we're in pain. That's and it's still in. How do you erase that out of doctors' heads when it's been
Ingrained.
ingrained? You have to advocate for yourself. Black women are higher rates. Women of color are higher rates dying, giving birth. So you have to go other routes, like having a midwife or having a doula, um, having a home birth, or you know. So we have to educate ourselves and advocate for yourselves. Yes, a doctor can tell you something, but do ask questions. Ask questions. My mom got a mammogram. She didn't ask. I said, Mom, I have dense breast tissue. Just have them do an ultrasound. I tell her this. Tell them just automatic. I want an ultrasound. She wouldn't speak up. Well, they said I didn't need one. Guess what? She had to go back and do an ultrasound. I said it wouldn't hurt. I'm just asked. Even if they said, well, we can't do it until then, it was just the mentality. This is what they said. And I'm like, okay, well.
It's it kind of goes back to the whole thing, don't have any other idols other than God, right? So I
Mhm.
believe in the Holy Spirit, and I believe that Holy Spirit will tell me everything I need to know, but if I'm not listening, I'm not going to get the right answers. Sometimes we put doctors above God, and we're like, "Oh, I'm sick, so this is the doctor's revenue." When we should be listening to the Holy Spirit because the Holy Spirit would have told you, "Oh, no, you don't need a mammogram, go get the ultrasound." Or even in my case,
Sure.
go to the homeopathic doctor. I waited months and I didn't have to. I got really sick right before the pandemic. So then you got the fear of the pandemic and nobody's going
Mhm.
anywhere. And when I first was told about the homeopathic doctor, the first thing that I thought of, well, they don't take my insurance. You know what? That is not a bad thing. That's actually a great thing.
Mhm.
They're not held to the same restrictions as someone who does take insurance. Do you know insurance, if they run your blood work for perimenopause, menopause, whatever it is, right? They're
Mhm.
under these certain parameters to tell you everything is fine when it's not. My
Mhm.
blood works basically told me I was a 110-year-old woman. Okay. And my insurance said that my doctor was not allowed to treat me or give me hormones because that was normal. That's not normal in somebody who's in their 30s. That's not normal. I go to my
Wait,
homeopathic doctor, she put me on hormones. Guess who feels better?
you do?
I do.
What is homeopathic doctor?
So a homeopathic doctor, they go to school like regular doctors and everything, but they look to herbs, they look to food, they look for the root cause of the issue
Mm.
rather than just throwing medicine at it. They want to, like for me per se, they were treating the anxiety so that it could calm down. But they're like, What's causing the anxiety? What's causing these issues? Because my hormones were out of whack, we got myself on bioidentical hormones, not the kind that they make in like the labs and stuff where they use horse urine, but the ones that are based on plants, the ones that
Mhm.
aren't linked to cancer. That made me start feeling a little bit better where I could actually get out of bed, where I wanted to do my hair and stuff, and it wasn't a chore. The anxiety came down because I got on medicine like L-theanine, which derives from green tea, versus getting on, these
Hmm.
other medications where some of the risks are death, some of the risks are suicide. You don't have those same stigmas with these natural things where it comes from the medicine that God put on earth. For me, I'd rather start there. I would rather start with something that's natural, that comes from the ground versus something a man made in a lab.
Wait, what's the difference? What's the difference with a natural? Is it a natural path?
A naturopathic doctor, they look for the root cause. That's usually what it is. They will help you
Oh,
find the root cause of things, and they start with medicine and food as medicine and herbs usually. They don't go straight to, oh, let's put you on a man-made medication. They
okay.
usually
And
do
then the
not take into it.
homeopath is the same.
So a homeopathic, let
Yeah.
me look it up.
You can put it in there too. I might be writing it wrong
No, you're
because I
fine.
put a homeopath doctors. They find root cause through herbs.
Correct.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yep. You did
Okay.
good.
The natural path, they find,
Naturopathic, same thing. They're all
well,
about
they
the
do the
same
same
thing.
thing. Okay.
Yep. But like I said, they're not constrained to what the insurance will and won't let you do. Like I said, you're paying out of pocket, and a lot of people are afraid of that, but it's actually a great thing. They were
Mhm.
able to get me on the stuff that I needed. They were able to put me in touch with a nutritionist. The
Oh, nice.
nutritionist is the one who decided, hey, I think we're dealing with parasites here. We need to start cleansing. She's the one that also was like, hey, what are you putting on your body? What's in the laundry soap? What's in the body wash? And then we started doing things at home. My son he's schooled at home.
Hmm.
So we started making our own lotions. We started making our own body wash. We started making our own soaps. We made our own chapsticks. I was surprised at how many things we were putting on our bodies daily that were messing with our hormones, that were toxic.
Oh no. Are you making your own deodorant?
Girl, yes.
How you smell?
Um, we started with a couple different we actually started with couple different companies. And we tried their stuff. And I realized that I was allergic to a lot of the ingredients that they were using. So we
Hmm.
started trying a couple different recipes. And we finally did find one that worked. Now, I ain't gonna lie, there was a couple times we were like, oh, this is funky. Nope, that is not gonna work. And I did try, I want to say it was native. And it worked. That
Okay.
native works for my husband just fine. And he don't stink or nothing. But for me, girl, I had rashes underneath my arm. Mm-mm. So just be careful. Be careful with what you try.
Mm-mm, it's tearing you up. I've been using for lotion wise. I just been using shea butter. There's this lady that sells organic shea butter, so that's what I just been using on my skin. I'd be greasy. I
Yeah.
mean, it does soak up, but at first, like I grew up being oily. You know, when you're a baby, I don't know in your household because did y'all use oil and lotion? I'm just saying.
I'm about to beat you.
I'm
Were we too white to do that? Was that what that
I'm just,
question
I'm
was?
not saying that. I'm asking. I mean, every
No,
home
my
is
white mama
different.
did not just put lotion. She put lotion on us. She put
Okay.
baby oil on us.
Okay.
Shoot, that was my first hair grease because my hair wasn't black enough to be black and not white enough to be white. So she had to put the baby oil in my hair.
Girl, it was a legitimate question.
I mean, you ain't wrong. You ain't wrong.
But yeah, so I still like to be oiled up, but then I needed to like soak and not because when grease, like when I was a kid, that blue magic, you like scratch your head, there'd be grease all over your hand and it'd be all over
Yes.
your desk and your paper. Good times.
Blue Magic and what was the other one? Just for Me. I can still smell the Just for Me. Like it's not even around me right now and I know what that
Just
smelled like.
for me. And you know the things with those products, those perms, you see on the box how their hair was so like straight and this and that. They didn't use that product. Their hair was flat ironed. A lot of them came out, their hair was just pressed straight. So that lie and putting that chemical, we're seeing the wave of everybody going natural. Some people are going back to the creamy crack because I get it. I still don't wear a perm, and so it's hard for me to wear my real hair because I mean it's hard sometimes. But that would make sense that that could cause cancer and all those things. It's a lie.
Yeah.
It burns. So know better, do better.
Know better, do better. And
Yeah,
just
our
because
parents
you
was just
can
trying to
doesn't
make
mean
our
you
hair
should.
manageable.
Right. And just because you can doesn't mean you should. There's so many things that we can do, but it's not good for us. Like, I can go do crack, but it's not going to be good for me. It's not, something I should do. There's a lot of things and as we age, we look back and we're like, "Dang, I shouldn't have done that."
Yeah.
And so we're being in our household, we are being more purposeful. We're being more intentional. We're striving after God. We're spending time with Him. We're making sure we're getting our word in. We're going out organic as best as possible. We're raising a garden in our backyard. Um, we're just being intentional with the products that we're putting in and on our body. I'm not saying that you never go to the doctor because there's sometimes you have to go to the doctor.
Yeah.
Sometimes you do need an antibiotic. Sometimes you do need to see a surgeon. But I feel like you should be intentional. You should make sure that you're using wisdom in those areas. And we're just changing things in our household. It just doesn't look like it did 10 years ago.
It's nice that we have, like, I know people get upset. They're like, oh, social media and all this thing is so bad. Anything is bad depending on how you use it, right? Everything has to evolve. It can't, we can't drive around with maps. I mean, you can, but you could probably just look it up on your phone. It's probably going to be a little more efficient and blah, blah, blah. But we have now, there's no reason for us not to be aware. We have all the information at our fingertips. Anything you want to know, use it for good.
Yeah. And, I think that's why TikTok was so, it's been, they're trying to ban it, and
Mhm,
I feel like that's because it allowed so many countries to come together to share the information and make us aware.
mhm,
And before, it was like, oh, they're conspiracy theorists. Well, now there's some stuff, things are being proven. Things are being shown. We're not stuck in textbooks. We're not stuck with just what we find. There's that connection that we're finding on TikTok. We're finding things on YouTube. We're finding things on social
mhm.
media, and it's bringing us together. And anytime that happens, people get scared. But I feel like this is the time for us to find what we need to find and share it with each other and help us all evolve into better people so that we're not falling in these traps of being sick.
Yeah. And like you said, like, the pharmaceuticals and stuff, they make money off of people being sick.
And it probably didn't start out that way. Let's just be real. They do want to find cures
Right.
and stuff but at the end of the day that's where it falls into. So we have to go back and before there was modern medicine, there was these herbs and people were still living when we were using these herbs and we need to share that information. you know, things that people don't want to talk about, like, treating parasites, treating, having coffee enemas, these things that were taboo shouldn't be taboo anymore just because it's not our norm. We need to learn from what other countries are doing and find out if that works for us.
Yes. So you would say during the journey, like you are feeling better, you're healing, which is hard to do from when you're already sick.
It is very hard to do from when you were sick. I went from a point of despair where I was planning my own funeral,
Oh no.
um, back to a point of hope. And I know that it would have been worse if I didn't have Jesus during that time.
Mm-hmm.
And he was there for me and he was showing me the ways. And, it's just about, it's hard to listen when you're in the middle of the storm.
For sure.
And I feel like I wouldn't have gotten that far had, I mean, we were in the middle of a pandemic. It was hard to listen to anything other than fear. Now that I can hear him again and I've been following the things that he's been asking me to do, I'm definitely in a better place. I'm not dealing with the anxiety as much. I'm not dealing with half of this stuff.
And now you're here sharing your testimony that just hang in there.
Yeah.
But you got to do better.
And
Meaning,
find the root of things.
yeah,
Stop treating anxiety might be the symptom, but it may not be the root. Dig deeper, whatever it takes. Don't give up.
100%. 100%. Anxiety is a thing. And I've talked about my mental health issues time and time again, but anxiety was bad. Like I'm breaking down crying at work. Like you don't even care anymore if someone sees you cry. I don't care about you. I gotta go like shed. I can't, you're too lazy to even get up to go cry at this point. Like, or you're scared, a constant, how I was feeling it. I felt fear and my adrenaline was running like I was afraid, but for hours. And I have to work like that.
And
Yeah.
that should not be your norm.
Yeah. And I'm
That
just
should
like,
not be
how
your
do
norm.
you, I don't think it's ever going to go away. Like, so I feel you that where you're like, it's not going to, like, I feel like shit. Like, I think about that time you called me. It was 7 in the morning. You just start praying for me. So I had a rough night. I had many rough nights. Like, I felt like I was being spiritually attacked in my sleep every night. There was no peace. You know how sometimes maybe you can go to sleep and find some peace and just deal. No, no. How are you depressed and anxious in your sleep? That that's wild. So that prayer helped because I don't know what woke you up to possess you because girl, you went off. And then you just hung up. I was like, okay, okay.
I woke up, the Holy Spirit said, call Tamika and pray for her. So that is what I did. And I really feel that before you're in the storm, you really need to find your circle of people. You really
Mhm,
need to find that people that will pray for you because I don't want everybody praying for me. Not everybody is equipped to pray the right things. They might be praying for you unbeknownst to them that they're actually putting curses upon your head. So
mhm,
find your people, find the people that know how to pray. They know how to pray those fervent prayers. Um and find your village before you're in the storm because I'll be honest,
mhm,
because of the pandemic and everything, when I was in that storm in the deepest darkest points, I
mhm.
felt so alone. And it wasn't because the enemy is really good at secluding you when you're sick, when you're
Right.
down, and trying to keep you from everybody. And me being the strong woman, I didn't want to tell everybody where I was at either, because
Mhm,
you feel ashamed, like I can't handle this. And I'm so thankful for my husband being, a man of God and praying for me, and my daughter being equipped enough to be like, oh my God, where we're at.
mhm,
And I did have a few friends that did come and check on me and prayed with me, and they were listening to the Holy Spirit. I'll
mhm.
be honest, without Jesus, girl, I probably would have just been done. I probably
Yeah.
wouldn't be here having this conversation with you.
What I do like is that you have like a husband. You have a husband that's a man of God. Sometimes when I think it's scary when you don't have a partner, I do think it matters spiritually what your partner is 100%. Like, I'm not gonna lie, when if I'm on a dating app or something and I see that they're agnostic or they're this, that matters. I look at that immediately. We're not going to, because especially when these storms come, he's not going to be equipped. And it's a blessing that you have that in a husband. He knew how to pray for you, be there for you. He looked to God. It led with that and could be there for you, be sympathetic, understanding, because sometimes men, they don't understand. So there's nothing wrong with, you're fine, you need to do this, like that whole logical, and not knowing that on top of the health thing, it is spiritual warfare. It
Yep,
matters.
it
Faith
matters. It
matters.
does matter. People will tell you it doesn't matter. It does. And, the Bible says don't be unequally yoked. And in those times, you understand that. And I'm just thankful because even when he didn't know, he went to, either his mentor or his friends that were also, he has his group. And
Mm-hmm.
he's like, hey, tap in. You know what I mean? And I I feel bad for anybody who doesn't have that. I feel bad for anyone who feels that they're alone and they have no one. And I feel like that's a part of my journey is to bring those people in, and so that they can also find their group of people. That doesn't mean they're 100% in my group, but we can help them find a group of other women. And it's very important to find your people, to find
It
your group
is.
so that you're not alone.
It's, I wrote this article about, um, it was like about mental health, but it was more geared towards community healing. So basically, I think sometimes we think individual, we don't think community, and we don't think we. So when kind of dealing with those things, like what you said, having a tribe, having a village, but some people don't know how to get a tribe or a village. So what you're doing is creating that, saying, hey, do you need one? I can get you with the right people. And that's what the article was about. Us even like looking out for strangers, checking on someone, being observant, and then also verbally telling people what we need. We have to tell people, I need help. This is where I'm struggling, where there's just no judgment. I think, you know, yeah, I mean, and with that, meeting people where they're at. Because just because you're healed and they're struggling, and then you're on them because they're not work, but you forgot that you had to go to that same path where somebody was on you. Get it together, girl. Get it together, girl. And they still stood by you.
It's funny because I was just reading about the passage Job, the book of Bible in the Bible, Job. And in his time of despair, he had friends that came to be around him. And during
Mhm.
that time, they didn't encourage him. In fact, they were looking for his sin and talking about how you need to call out your sin because this is where they were at. People know what they're doing wrong. They already know. In fact, sometimes we're happy that we were doing it. I remember when I was in that moment, I was like, I was flaunting that I was doing wrong.
Right.
What they need to see is the love of Jesus. They need to see that love through you. Love them in that moment because I mean, shoot, you and I have been through some times, but when we came back at each other in love, those were when true change happened.
Yes, 100%.
And people need that. And people weren't taught how to love each other when
Mhm.
people are sick. Like sickness looks different for every person. It could be, you're dealing with let's change sickness into a struggle. Let's change sickness into wherever you are at. People just need to know that you love them in that moment and that you're there for them. And they need to see in your life how it has changed so that they have that hope that theirs can change too.
Mhm.
So I'm gonna throw a shout out on there. If you are a woman of God or a man of God, Thursday nights, starting back at the end of August, there is a men and women's group at Living Word Bible Church in Mesa, Arizona, which is on Higley and Brown.
Mhm.
We start at 6:45. If you need to find a group of people that will be there for you, pray for you, and not stab you behind your back, come join us. They give a word. You are around people that will pray for you and try to, show you that there is hope. And if you don't have that and you're in our area, come join us. It was a life-changing experience for me. That's where I found a lot of my group, my tribe. And if you don't have that and you need hope, by all means, come join us.
And you guys,
Um,
I will put that in the comments. I'll paste it in there where you can do that.
I just, some especially right now, there's so much division, there's so much hate, there's so much going on, and people just feel hopeless. And I don't want anybody to feel like that.
It's a horrible, it is a horrible feeling to wonder if things are ever going to get better. And I believe they can. They have.
Yeah.
Every I think we get stuck that we think everything is permanent.
Yeah.
And then you're like, whoa, because there's times, you know how you said like you've been so down, maybe because you're sick or life's not going well or whatever. And like you and me both talk, we both struggle with anxiety, and that feeling to go on to persist, you do think of unaliving.
Yeah.
But the only reason I wouldn't, because of my faith, I don't know where I'm gonna go, and what it would do to my family.
Yeah.
It would have a trickle. It would have a little bit of a trickle effect. So, but that's me personally. Everybody has their own. I
Yeah.
don't know what other people go through or their thresholds, but those thoughts come across people's minds quite often, and they
Yeah.
shouldn't. That should not be a normal thought at all.
It really shouldn't. And and that's really what the enemy wants. I don't know what everybody believes, but my belief system is I believe in Jesus and I believe in Satan and there is a heaven and a hell. And he really does not want what he lost. So he does not want us to have what he already lost. He was taken out of heaven and put on this earth and all that stuff. And he wants people to be there with him. He doesn't want to be there by himself. He doesn't want to be able to be he really wants to be in that place of where he could worship God again. And he puts people in this place of disparity where they feel that they have no hope.
Mm-hmm.
And I am so thankful that even when I feel like hope is gone, I can go back to the fact that I have Jesus in my life. And not everybody has that. And if that's against your religion and everything, I'm not stepping on your religion on any means. I'm just showing you where I found my hope.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't have that hope in whatever religion you're living in, by all means, hit us up because we can show you hope. And if you're not finding that in your religion, maybe there's a problem.
Oh man, well, you about to have a word,
Girl, it's been one of those things. I'm just thankful. It's hard not to talk about Jesus and the things that he's done when you've been at your lowest of lows and he's rescued you so many times. So many times. And a lot of it was self brought on.
yeah. You know what we were talking about? Me and a friend were talking about something. There was a situation. She was like, it's the devil. It's the devil. I said, well, you got to question: is it or is it free will? Is it a choice you made that was because we have choices, right? But then we like to blame it on the devil.
Yep.
But we have free will. And I've made some, y'all, I still be doing some questionable shit. Like, but I'm getting, God be checking me. He be like, I could hear, like, I need you to stop. Are you sure? Do you want me to remove it or do what I say and be obedient and remove yourself? If he removes you, sometimes he's had to remove me, and that stuff was horrible. I should have did what I was told.
Obedience the first time. Obedience the first time. And the funny thing is everybody's like, oh, how do you serve a God that allows it in the first place? Well, the enemy brought it. but he gave me opportunities to get out of it. He always gives you a way of escape. The question is were you listening? Were you listening when it was time to escape? And a lot of us are so hell bent on being right and doing our own thing that sometimes we just end up in a situation that we should have never been in the first place. But we've refused to be obedient. We refuse to listen to wisdom, and then we're just, he's still there. He's like, "You ready? You ready?" But we're just not
Right.
listening.
No,
So,
I like that. And I always think of like every day, what's the, let's say like what's your favorite time of the day? I say the morning because if I woke up, it's always I'm able to start over. I'm able to start over. And sometimes you don't have to wait. Well, first I used to say when I would have those bad days, okay, this is a bad day. Tomorrow will be better. But one day someone said, it could just be better now. Just change your mind. I had to get to that point where I'm not going to like waste my whole day. Fine, I had a horrible 4 hours. We're going to start all over right now. But the morning is my favorite because it reminds me that I'm alive. And I still say, today's the day the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it.
and that's the one thing that you have to take throughout your day. So let's
Yes.
say you're having a bad day. Try being mad and rejoice at the same time. Turn on some worship music. It's so hard to stay mad. And then you hear Jesus in the moment. He's like, "Stop being mad at him." I'm like, "Jesus, I don't want to stop being mad at him, but okay."
I do like what Tabitha Brown said. She said, if you can't have a good day, don't go ruining somebody else's.
Amen. That's
Yeah.
real.
Because there are those people that I'm like, they have, you just ruined. I'm not going to let you ruin my day. I'm not going to let you. But I do have a little game I like to play.
Okay, what we playing?
Well, it's not a game, it's some questions, like what comes
Okay.
at the top of your head. Okay. So, one word that best describes you.
Loyal.
What's your theme song?
Let's go with "Move, Bitch, Get Out the Way" because that's what popped in my
Okay. What motivates you?
My family, money, and Jesus.
Okay. Your personal hero.
Jesus.
What is your wildest dream?
To be a billionaire and help others unbeknownst to them. So being a secret savior, I guess, in people's lives, just dropping things that people need in their life without them ever knowing it was me.
You know what you could drop off if this happens? Drop off a payment to aspiring loan services
Okay. All right.
and pay off
In the name of Tamika?
Tamika Johnson. Yes.
Okay. All right.
Are anybody out there interested? Okay. So, what legacy do you want to leave behind?
I would have to say that I want my family to love Jesus and that can go on for generations to generations to generations. And my hope is to also build generational wealth. But if they don't know Jesus, then none of the rest of it matters.
Exactly. What's your purpose?
To help people heal and to lead them to the Lord so that they may never perish and find eternal rest.
And what do you want God to say to you once your journey is complete here on this earth?
Good and faithful servant, enter in.
I'm coming. Oh shoot. I'm glad you shared this with me. When are you gonna when's this book coming out?
Girl, it's funny because God has been placing books on my heart a lot lately. And with me not working, I guess maybe this was what I needed to hear to start putting pen to paper.
Because I be thinking about stories of when we were growing up, this stuff with you. I'm like, girl, you aren't scared of nothing. Well, you didn't show it. Shit.
Girl, you were there when I went through a plate glass window.
Look, she went through it. I thought she broke it, so I ran.
She
Got
left me,
pushed through.
y'all. She
I
left
mean,
me.
and that was the beginning of our friendship. Did you
No,
like
the
those
beginning
pictures I
was you
posted?
coming out like this. Hey, and we're like, your mom's behind you. That was the beginning of our friendship.
Oh, I used to sneak all out the window all the time, and my mom would wake up and just be like, "Yeah, you got to come in the house." Um, remember? Oh, this is when I had to babysit that baby, and we had a food fight with the baby in tow. Y'all, the baby was fine, y'all.
The baby was fine.
We were wild. Or we would
That
like
baby.
cuss each other out and hang up and then call each other back.
Those were the good old days.
Those were the good
The
old
good
days.
old days.
We've come a long ways from y'all, from two little girls from Iowa, and like you said, having moms as addicts. That's just a whole story in itself. I think that shaped. I think that shaped us because that's our moms and that experience. When you look back at it, y'all, that shit was horrible. I'd be like thinking I wouldn't want any kid like I know, like my godchildren, and I would never want them to experience any of that. Like you're literally fending for yourself in some ways. You're not protected. You can't go to nobody, no adult by any means, because every adult in your life lives like that. I like to say I was raised in drug culture.
You more so than me, because at least I
Hmm.
had a grandparent to come and take us out when things got real rough. I
Yeah.
had a place to go.
Yep, I didn't. I was with my when I was with my cousin, I was fine. So I want to clarify
Yep.
that when I lived in Clinton, I was safer. I was safe because I lived with a functioning person who was caring for me. Then when I went off along with my mom, that's when like there was just some shit. I mean, just because I talk about it doesn't mean I don't forgive her. I do, but it did shape my adulthood, and it's a lot of healing. I like to say I came to Arizona to start to heal, but it took a very long time. I don't think I really kind of got the help I needed until 2019, and it's still an ongoing thing.
Sometimes we don't even realize there's a problem,
Yeah,
and we don't even see the symptoms of it until it becomes a problem. And
yeah,
because we've learned to function with it for so long, it was our norm, it was our taught behavior. And I think that's where having a tribe, especially a tribe of intentional
hmm,
people, comes in, because something that you thought is normal and is okay really might not be okay. You might not understand that it's have symptoms in your life of where you're attracting the wrong friends, you're attracting the wrong men, all because
hmm,
you don't realize that you're doing things to actually bring them into your life because you haven't
100%.
healed in that area. It's crazy.
Yes. And it's good to have your accountability partner. But I do
Absolutely.
like what you did say is like, you have an account, like you're telling somebody something they already know, but I don't think you need to like drill it into their head after they just like acknowledged and took accountability and you're still, that doesn't help y'all. Like, they're like, bitch, didn't I just say that? But I mean, teach their own. Well, thank you for what do you want to leave the group with?
I guess my biggest thing is, if you are out there suffering or if you are on a journey and you can't figure things out, find your people. You are your biggest advocate. So you are not stuck wherever you are. Wherever you are, there is still hope. Keep fighting, keep searching. You don't have to stay where you're at in life. Whether you're struggling, living with parents who are addicted or have addicted parents
Mhm.
even as you're older, if you're struggling with, men that are abusive, or
Mhm.
you're just attracting the wrong ones, if you're on a health journey because you're in perimenopause or whatever it is, we're all striving to do better. Find your people that are also striving to do better, that are intentional. If you're not in the Arizona area, find a Bible based church in your area that is. And make sure that you're checking your boxes even with that, because you don't want to leave with even more church hurts. So, you know, just don't settle. It's okay to do better. You are not stuck at the level that your parents are. It's okay for you to go above that.
I love it. Oh my God. Thank you so much for joining
Thank you for
on.
having me.
Yes. And if you guys have any questions or comments, obviously you can leave a comment in the chat. If you enjoyed this conversation, subscribe. You guys hit that notification button, share, get these views up. Also, you can listen to Divine Honey Podcast on Apple Podcasts, and you can listen to me on Spotify. If you're interested in being a guest, or you know someone who wants to be a guest, please email me at bougiegirl@gmail. Let me put that up for y'all. Let me hit you with the bougie girl. Yep. You can hit me up on bougiegirl@gmail.com. I am also on Instagram. You can hit me up, bougiegirl_LLC. And our favorite, TikTok. There's Facebook, and then I'm on TikTok as well. Until next time, you guys, peace and blessings.